I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
President Moran.
Here.
Director Basket. Director Clinton.
Here.
Director Adams.
Here.
Brown.
Here. Moving on to item number 1, public session. Statements from the floor will be heard during public session for items on the agenda for the special meeting. Requests to speak forms are provided for those wishing to address the board. After completing the form, please give it to the clerk. The board will establish a time limit for receipt of testimony. The board reserves the right to establish further time limits for receipt of testimony. Don't have any requests to speak forms. Moving on to item number 2, authorization for the president and secretary to execute SDRMA endorsement exclusion for David Basket.
Mr. President, last week, we received a email from the Special District Risk Management Authority, our insurance company. I'll just read it. It was very brief and to the point. Good afternoon. Recently, SDMRMA has been contacted, was contacted regarding incident and concerns relating to a district board member, David Basket. Our chief risk officer has discussed with our coverage counsel, and as a result, drafted exclusion endorsements, which exclude Mr. Basket from the liability policies as long as the district is a member of SDRMA. We are attaching proposed exclusion forms for your review and signature. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you. Have a wonderful holiday week. It actually came in Friday overall, late Friday for Memorial Day weekend. Friday, Tuesday. So I'd also like to read in at the request of Director Basket, an email we received, actually it was Carrie, your board clerk who received it. So I'd like to read this into the record. Carrie, it is interesting that I will be in DC on Friday and ask that the meeting take place next week. I request the following to be read at the meeting. To date, I have not received any citation or even expressed concern from any police investigator or litigation pointing at me, delivered to me about any unsafe action on my part that resulted in the tragic death of a person traveling on Skyway Drive. I will challenge any restriction placed on my access to my property and my director duties. It was the airport that started the issues that led to the tragedy. Signed, Dave. So with that, at some point, I'm sure your counsel will speak to you, but we have a decision, your board has a decision to make. Mr. Basket, we agreed to sign the documents that exclude Mr. Basket from our insurance policy, or we will all be excluded from that insurance policy. That's the decision you have to make today.
So really what you're saying, this is the insurance company saying, hey, we want nothing to do with Mr. Basket.
It's the insurance companies saying, so I'm not privy to what their conversations are internally. The district did not request this. Your staff did not request this. Legal counsel did not request this. They had this discussion internally amongst themselves. And my understanding is that these types of decisions are exceedingly rare and only happen when the insurer has determined that a situation or an individual constitutes an uninsurably high risk. So nothing to do might be an informal way of stating that, but from the insurer's standpoint, I believe these decisions are generally made when an individual poses an uninsurable risk.
Can I ask a thought? Do you think this is based on all of the lawsuits that Dave has brought against the board members and the airport, or do you think this is from the accident resulting in the girl losing her life?
So again, I wasn't privy to the conversations that happened.
No, I understand that. I'm just asking your thoughts.
So when you look at the terms of the exclusion, as you stated, Director Basket has sued both you as directors individually, which is covered and paid for by SDRMA and by the premiums that are paid by this district. But when you look at this, it does not say that you are losing coverage. you all as directors, the remaining directors will continue to receive coverage as directors and officers of this district. It relates to personal injury, auto accidents, property damage, and so it's the liability side that these exclusions cover. I can't say that definitively that those lawsuits didn't play a factor in this decision, but when you look at the terms of the exclusion, SDRMA is not saying that we will not defend you, Director Brown, or President Gray, any of you as directors. But it does say that any personal injury or property damage or auto accidents will not be covered if caused by David Bassett.
But it's the date of it, the accident that happened, that probably in all likelihood will create a liability for the airport to defend. Will that be covered through the?
So just to clarify, the airport has not received any claim related to this incident, but the endorsement is set to take effect, and SDRMA is set to take effect on July 1st. So this only impacts occurrences that happen after July 1st, 2020, or on or after.
I'd make a motion to authorize the president secretary to execute the SBL main endorsement exclusion for David Baskett.
If we don't, they'll drop our coverage for all of us. Is that what you said?
So the way that this would work is that your coverage agreement allows SDRMA to make these coverage changes with notice to the district. So this is essentially notice that your insurer is asking the board to acknowledge and sign. If you don't, the insurer will implement this coverage exclusion. So they're not gonna, they won't necessarily drop you from coverage just yet. That's not what they have stated, but they will implement this coverage exclusion with or without the airport's consent. My experience with insurance companies is that if this board does not agree to it, then they will have the conversation internally about whether the district is insurable. But that's not a conversation that we have had just yet, or that they've communicated to the district.
Nor one that we want to have.
So that's a policy determination for your board to make.
I'll make a second to the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item number 3, discussion and consideration of resolutions and related board action regarding coverage exclusions.
President, resolutions been prepared at your request. I don't know if I want to read it or you want to read it,
Sure.
but it addresses, staff and your executive committee's, collective concern about what this insurance change brings upon us. So I'll let Daniel address the rest.
Thank you. So this resolution, I would like to just state for the record, is related to the coverage exclusion and makes clarifications and statements from this board that address, control, and mitigate the risks that are created by this coverage exclusion. So I believe that you have the resolution before you. It's resolution number 935. It restates some provisions of your administrative code and state law that provide that all of you as directors can act unilaterally, that all actions of the district need to be taken by the board. But if you go to page 2, it provides that clarifies for the public in particular, especially because this coverage exclusion will be in place effective July 1st, that Director Baskett serves as an individual member of the district and thereby has no independent authority, that he is not a legal agent or officer of the district. So this is critical. It's stating on the public record that he cannot sign contracts or take any action. Again, necessary, this clarification being necessary in light of the coverage exclusion. He can't act unilaterally for the district. And further, that district staff are directed and authorized to take any reasonable and lawful steps to protect the interests of the district necessitated by the coverage exclusion described in the resolution. I will also state that the last paragraph does provide, and I will share to you as a board and to the public, that Director Baskett will retain his ability to attend these meetings and to participate as an individual board member of this district. That is not what this resolution is intended to do. It's not to curtail any of his rights as a director of the district. But that does not, those rights are to participate in these meetings, to vote as an individual director in the decisions that come before this board, and to exercise any other rights that are specified in state law that each of you enjoys as a director of the board. So this resolution is not intended to curtail those narrow rights that are afforded to each of you as directors, but does clarify for you and as a statement to the public that he is not authorized by this board to act as an agent or officer of the district.
Which would further insulate the airport.
That's correct. So that is, again, that's why it's related to the coverage exclusion, is that the board here is stating, in light of this exclusion, we need to make clear to everyone that we do business with and to the public that both he and really each of you are not authorized to act unilaterally. And because he is not serving currently as of the date of the resolution as an officer or signatory of the board, he is not authorized to even sign documents that reflect a decision.
Open this up to discussion. Anyone else? Any questions or?
Well, it doesn't take away the voters' rights because the voters voted him in, so he's still on the board and he still makes decisions and votes with us, period. But what it does in a legal sort of way is it protects us further from any potential lawsuits coming in. And it sets the tone of where the board stands in relationship to all that. So I think it's, I don't think it's negative to the airport to do that. And it's a positive situation.
More than anything, it also reinforces that us as an individual, we don't have the power that I believe Dave Ellison has. Which has caused considerable amount of issues and problems and headaches for everyone. So yeah.
If a legal action was brought against Director Basket, he would have to bear the sole cost of that. If somebody, if he did something from here, where somebody filed a suit against him, he would have to defend himself. The airport would not be involved with that.
So with respect to, again, the specific endorsement, which is if he's brought in and claimed in a personal injury claim, and he is named individually, SDRMA would no longer cover the cost of his defense.
And where would the airport be in that?
It depends on the nature of the action. So if indeed he was acting in his capacity as a director and officer, it's possible that the district may have to cover, that state law would require that the district cover the cost of that defense. So that's why insurance coverage is so critical and why this exclusion is very serious for the airport. I'm not saying that it will, but it's possible that certain provisions of state law would require this district to cover certain actions.
So it would be fair to say that Director Basket's bearing a lot of liability to remain on the board without this insurance coverage.
So to restate what I believe you're saying, this insurance exclusion, which like I said, is exceedingly rare, creates liability both for Director Basket personally, but also for the district. If he were to do something that results in claim and lawsuit against.
And that's why we're doing this resolution here, is to further prevent that from happening.
That's right, is to mitigate that risk and to control it to the extent that you as a board are able to, without curtailing his rights as a member of the board of directors.
But essentially, we will be completely cleared as long as Basket remains on the board.
So unfortunately, that is correct. And I should also share that the SDRMA did also clarify that this coverage exclusion is intended only to apply during or insofar as Director Basket serves as a director. So what is unique about this district is that you operate a public airport and one that's accessible to members of the public. So if Director Basket at some point in the future is no longer serving as a director, my understanding is that SDRMA will withdraw this exclusion so that if he is at the airport as a member of the public, on a flight to Vegas, and something were to happen, and the airport is added as a party, the airport would be covered with respect to the airport's liability. The SDRMA has never covered the acts of private individuals, but as you all know, when something happens at the airport, even if it's caused by a third party, the airport is almost always named. In this case, if Director Basket is named as a party and the airport is also added, with this exclusion in place, SDRMA will deny coverage. So again, auto accident in a public area of the airport. This exclusion, if it's caused by an act or omission of Director Basket, either in his individual capacity or as a director, will not be covered by SDRMA.
Starting July.
Beginning on July 1st.
So we're in an election year. Right. I believe Basket's seat is up. If he were to be reelected, this continues.
If he were to be reelected, so long as he serves as a director on this board, SDRMA has determined that this coverage exclusion is necessary. That's correct. So reelected, appointed, that is what they have expressed.
So it's a resolution. Let's go ahead and vote on including or adding this resolution.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 935.
This is discussion and consideration. We need to add language to then allow this.
No, so because this is a resolution that relates to board action regarding coverage exclusion, because this is related to coverage exclusion, I believe that the noticed title would be sufficient to cover action on this resolution. Thank you for that.
Second.
Need a second.
So we have a motion.
I motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
President Adams? I
Yes.
mean, Moran, sorry.
Yes.
Director Clayton,
Yes.
Director Adams?
Yes.
Director Brown?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to director's comments isn't on here, but I feel like we should have room for comments. So I'll go to director's comments. And then after that one, we'll make a motion to adjourn. So let's go and start with.
I think in lieu of what's going on, I think it would behoove Dave to not take it. I think he should give up his position. He's putting us, the airport, in a really bad position in itself, and even a worse position by not being insured. That's basically my comments.
This is like uncharted territory. I've never heard this happen before, never seen this happen before. It's unfortunate, but Director Basket, where his position is, should he resign his seat? I mean, that's a decision that he would have to make, but I fully support that at this point in time. So that's all I have.
I have great respect for Director Basket. Dave is a very good friend of mine. He's a military veteran, chopper pilot, saved men's lives, tried to start an airlines here. He's done a lot of things, He has a lot of well-wishers for him too. But with the events that's happened recently, I've asked him to please step off the board. And I asked him to please, for the sake of the airport, to lessen any liability. And if he was to resign, I would support that. And I'm always in support of Mr. Basket. But I think that his time on this board has come and gone, and I think that he needs to step off again And I think it's for the best of the airport. It's difficult, totally uncharted grounds that we step on. But we're here to take care of the airport. And so I think we voted correctly. And I'm hopeful that the airport is going to move on forward like we've planned on doing all along and get our things done that we need to get done. That's my comment.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, and my sentiment is, just given the history of, my time here on the board, and dealing with situations that involve basket, it's not a situation of if something happens in the future, it's when something happens again related to Mr. Basket in the future. So I agree with all the sentiments here. I believe he should resign. That's my comment.
I'll make a motion to quit.
We should have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a second, all in favor?
Yeah.